Well, good morning, future wonks. It's nice to be back after a few days of being under the weather. We've pushed through and we're progressing. We had our Chapter 2 exam and we're looking at those results, breaking it down and doing some reassessment as we move forward, starting today into Chapter 3, federalism. Federalism. But on to politics. Those of us who follow politics are discussing whether the government is going to be shut down again due to a budget battle in Congress. We didn't think this would be happening again this year, but lo and behold, here we are once again. Here's the issue. The government must be funded after September 30th when the current budget runs out. So there needs to be emergency funding put in place until a new budget can be approved. The problem or the issue is that the Republicans wish for any new spending to not include funding for Planned Parenthood. And that's based off of all those videos you've been hearing so much about, where there's discussion of harvesting uh, the fetal tissue or organs for scientific research. But they don't have enough votes to block the Democrats from stopping that. And I really think that this is more about Republican frustration overall than specifically defunding Planned Parenthood. Look, the Republicans now have a majority in the House and in the Senate, and it's very frustrating to them to find themselves realizing that, number one, they can't defund Obamacare. Number two, they cannot stop the nuclear deal with Iran from going through. And now they're frustrated because they can't defund Planned Parenthood. And this is leading to a lot of problems for Speaker John Boehner, who is possibly having his speakership challenged. So we'll see what happens over the next few days. The Senate is a step ahead of the House and is trying to approve some measures, but we'll see if the Speaker in the House can push his party forward. Interesting developments. Stay tuned. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton has announced her opposition to the Keystone pipeline. On Tuesday, she's broken her silence on the long disputed Keystone pipeline, saying in Iowa she opposes the project, sees it as a distraction from the important work that we have to do to combat climate change. Ms. Clinton didn't say she opposed the project based on the merits of the pipeline, but on the political discourse around it. The pipeline would move as many as 83,000 barrels of oil a day, mostly from Canada's oil sands to Steel City, Nebraska. And you can imagine all the jobs that would also help create. But we got to live in a clean environment too. So pay attention to this developing issue. Meanwhile, with Scott Walker's exit from the presidential campaign, Marco Rubio has positioned himself to benefit. The Florida senator's efforts to win over Scott Walker's team have begun in earnest before the Wisconsin governor even suspended his campaign. Rubio is now set to inherit about 2/3 of Mr. Walker's big donor fundraising apparatus, which can help him compete financially with former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, who's expected to lead the Republican field when campaign finance filings are due next month. That's the document that indicates how much money the candidates have been raising. Still in play from Mr. Walker's orbit, though, many of his wealthy donors are willing to write large checks to support PACs and super PACs, which can accept unlimited sums. Women are having second thoughts about Donald Trump. A new CNN poll is out which indicates that female voter support for the first time candidate, Trump, have dropped 12 percentage points among likely GOP voters after last week's CNN debate. Is this the first chink in Trump's armor? We shall see if this is where it begins to end for Mr. Trump, or if this is just one poll that doesn't necessarily reflect a growing trend. So let's look at the Obama administration. At 9:15, the White House hosts a welcoming ceremony for the Pope on the South Lawn. Exciting extravaganza. At 10:15, the Pope will officially meet with President Barack Obama. At 10 a.m., Vice President Joe Biden hosts a delegation of officials from the Holy See in the Cabinet Room. Commerce Secretary Penny Pritzker delivers remarks at a meeting with Chinese President, and I believe his name is pronounced Xi Jinping. And U.S. and Chinese CEOs host international trade conference to promote international trade in Seattle. So let's not forget economic realities, and there's a lot going on with the U.S. and China regarding trade relations. The Pope is in the United States for the first time for Pope Francis's visit, and he has a number of appearances. The Pope Mobile will ride past the National Mall to St. Matthew's Cathedral. He'll pray with U.S. bishops at 11:30 a.m. At 4:15, he'll hold Mass at the Basilica of the National Shrine, where 30,000 people, including Mr. Biden and Secretary of State John Kerry, are expected. Meanwhile, Congress, the House and Senate are out of session, so we'll see how funding goes on the new budget. So that brings you up to date on our political briefing this morning. I have a 7 o'clock meeting at school, so I got to wrap this up, pour some coffee, and hit the road. We'll see you in class. We'll go over the first FRQ you did, not the substance, just the structure and the formatting. You will see that when it comes to advanced placement government, it isn't just about your knowledge. It's also about your style. Are you following the proper techniques in order to earn the most points that you can? I'm going to give you lots of tips today. All right? Thank you very much. It's good to be back. It's nice to feel healthy, and it's nice to be full of some energy this morning again. A little bacon and eggs might make things even better, but you know what? It's early, so it's just coffee today. And also today is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the holiest of holidays for people of the Jewish faith, including me. And so there'd probably be nothing worse that I could do than eat bacon and eggs today. So I'll be fasting, and I'll see everyone in school. Go Falcons! Falcon fever. I think I caught it.